How's it going, Mike?
Hey, David.
How frustrating is it when you guys got a pretty good drive going and then penalty happens and it kind of, I'm not sure if reset is the word you have to use, but just how much do you have to change what you're trying to do play calling wise after that penalty?
Yeah, it's hard, and that's probably more so than anything else has been our biggest negative on offense is we've been able to move the ball and then just so you have to you just got to keep coaching it and just keep whether or not it's a pre-snap penalty or just any kind of negative play. You got to and then in general as a play caller you got to try to figure out how you get back on track where you can get to third down manageable or come up with a play that gets you out of that situation. And if it happens in field goal range too, then you're looking at those scenarios where you're okay, yeah, you want to get the first down, but if you don't get the first down, then you want to at least try to get into field goal range. So yeah, unfortunately, all those situations aren't what you want to be in. So you just got to keep coaching, and whether or not they happen to be in the fringe area or in that field goal area or backed up either way, you got to eliminate that and coach and as hard as you can on correcting those things and then building on the good while you're doing it because we are doing some good things. We just I would think any offense would probably be saying the same thing. You just got to stay out of those negative things and those long yardage situations.
Hey, Mike, can you take us through the 4th and 4 play call in the fourth quarter there? Why was that the play call, especially when LSU's running a tight man coverage there? And what was like the reads on the play and whatnot?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics on that. We have plays where we think that are going to be good plays in that situation, and we call them, and hopefully we can, go make a play. They have good players too. So unfortunately, we came up short there.
For you personally, when you're calling a game and the first couple possessions go by and you kind of get a sample size what the defense is doing, how much do you kind of stick to the normal game plan or how much of this is kind of improvising throughout the course of the game?
Well, I think you do that all the time as when you're calling plays. Yes, you have an idea of what you want to go into the game with, and sometimes you might tweak the first play. Sometimes you might change the second play. It just kind of depends on circumstances, on what you've seen on tape and what you're anticipating compared to what you're getting out there. So, and sometimes we have early ideas, and people call them openers. People call them. We don't really script the very first 15 plays, but we have things that we think are going to be good, and you want to call your good stuff. Obviously, early, you don't want to wait and call that, but you have to have the ability and have the flexibility to adjust, and then have other things off the stuff that you call or. As you circle back, hey, do we want to call it again? Do we want to call the same exact play? Do we want to call that play out of a different formation but still run the same play? Or do we want to have something off that?
Anytime coaches let go from the staff during the season, how much does that add to the pressure for you and other coaches on the staff? And obviously you guys have plenty before a situation like that, but can you kind of quantify what that might mean for you guys?
Well, yeah, it's personally it's heartbreaking, and we all feel we all have to take ownership, and but I mean, as far as the pressure, no, there's whatever you want to use the word for pressure. Every week it's the same. You have to get yourself ready to go play, and there's good teams that you're playing, regardless of the circumstances, where you play, when you're playing, who you're playing. And if you don't feel that way each and every week, you're kind of missing the boat. You have to prepare like this week is the next game and the only game. And if you call it pressure, or if you call it excitement, if you call it fun, it's all of the above, those things. But you have to be so dialed in where you can't if you're worried about other things outside other than what you're supposed to be dialed in on as soon as the game's over on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday, then you're really kind of cheating yourself and the guys around you. We have a certain schedule each and every week that with some flexibility based on when we play games, but there's so much work to be done and to get yourself ready as a coach and then get your players ready to go perform the best. So it's a test, and it's easy to do when you're winning, but you got to be locked in and know that you got a bunch of guys around you that are doing the same thing. And we have that here, and we have that atmosphere here with our coaches and our players, and guys are they continue to be dialed in, and our players do everything we ask them to do. They practice hard. They have fun out there. They're frustrated because we haven't won, and yet they're playing and practicing like we with a lot of confidence and believing, and that's what you have to do. And you have to instill that in yourself and the players around you, and you ask them to do that amongst themselves, and because that's going to give you the best chance to go win. Play with confidence. Be upset. Okay, don't be satisfied by any means for where we're at, but also know that we're not that far off, and believe that, and just dig down a little bit deeper.
Mike, how do you guys decide on your running back rotation game to game? And as OC, do you ever have to, maybe butt in and say, play this guy at this time?
Yeah, I think it's, again, flexibility right there. We've talked about having guys that, at that position that can all play. And as we've learned, as the season's gone on, each guy's gotten more experience, whether or not it's experience because he's a young guy like Matt Fuller or experience because he's new in our system with Rasul. And those guys have gotten better. So, yeah, it's always a fine line. If yes, we talk about going with the hot hand, and Matt obviously did a great job and is playing well. But Rasul is also, if you watch him, he's playing really well too. It's as good. So it's a good problem to have, and I think that we'll continue to monitor that. I think you kind of have a little bit of an idea. It's kind of like calling plays and openers. You kind of have a little bit of an idea of what you want to go into the game, but you don't want to necessarily like predetermine it either. So and I think Coach Blackwell does a great job with that, and all those guys are ready to play, and they're all playing better.
When you went back and watched the film, on times when Lenoris was pressured, how did you feel like he did in terms of getting the ball away and running? Did you think there were more times he should have thrown the ball away, or how do you balance that?
I think every week you evaluate that as a coach with when you're working with quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks do that as well. Those are split-second decisions on navigating the pocket. It's why, in my opinion, it's one of many reasons why it's the greatest position in all of sports to play, because you have to make split-second decisions and react in a positive way. With guys that you're playing against that are really, really good athletes, and whether or not it's stepping up in the pocket and escaping to the right, or stepping back and moving out to the left, or getting the ball out or throwing it away. And all that comes with it. Doesn't matter if you've played 1 year, if you played two years in college, if you played 10 years in the NFL. That's a constant on how you react, and it's easy to look at afterwards as coaches with when you got the clicker in your hand and you're going back and forth. Oh man, you should have stepped up here. And then all of a sudden you look again and you're like, you know what? I can see what he thought right there, and I can see exactly what he did. So yeah, and obviously you don't want to. Lenoris, all quarterbacks know it, and coaches, and you're coaching your guys, you obviously want to make decisions in the pocket that are going to not lose yards or not turn the ball over. So, and then you get a guy like Lenoris who's very, very capable of escaping in the pocket, whether or not it's with his quickness or his being able to kind of, something that I've never, was never been able to do, but like break a tackle inside the pocket and make a play. So. And as a coach, you keep coaching positive things on making good decisions. And then all of a sudden when a guy does something that, he really shouldn't have done, but then he goes and scrambles and makes a play for 30 yards, is that good coaching, or is that, so you have to have a little bit of both ways. But in general, I know this is a long answer, but in general, we just need to continue to get better with in our passing game, with our protection, with our rhythm passing, getting the ball out on time, and then making good decisions and not taking losses in those areas.
Kind of going off that, Mike, you're halfway through the season now. How do you feel like you personally have done in the role of this new job as the OC? Where do you feel like you guys can be better, and where do you feel like you guys have been pretty good?
Well, yeah, I think we still have, as we all seen with our record, we're out there to go. Our goal is to go win every game. Our goal is to play well, and our goal is to score on every drive, just like everybody else's. And when we fall short and don't get that done, we have to look at why. And so the consistency. That's an answer that maybe kind of gets boring for you guys, but it's also stuff that you have to look at and say, hey, if we do this here, do that there. We're going to make this play. We're going to have positive yards on this. And the reason I say that, because if you don't do that and you're not really dialed in on doing that, then you lose perception, and you make general statements, or you do things that maybe where you overreact, and all of a sudden you're doing things that it's not your personality. So we look to try to fine tune all that, whether or not it's in scheme or doing different things here and there, or personnel, or all the above. But yeah, we obviously we need to be better.
Yesterday, Shane was in here talking about Oklahoma's defense, how good they are at getting to the quarterback and causing havoc plays. When you have kind of the offensive line struggles you had against LSU and having this defense come in here, how much like throughout the course of the game are a lot of the corrections done fundamentally with the offensive line? How much is it kind of having to change what you do from a schematic standpoint?
Yeah, and they're, as I've said in the past, they're no different than any other position. Yeah, I mean, one of the things we can all do better is just stay out of the negative plays and the long yardage situation. That's going to make everybody look better, whether or not you're an offensive lineman, a quarterback, or a receiver, or a back. And but yeah, collectively, to the points you bring up, sometimes it's technique, sometimes it's communication, sometimes it's timing. Okay, and then that's not just saying, hey, the players got to do this. No, it's all of us kind of doing that together. So, and yet doing it in a way where you're not panicking or overreacting and just doing something, changing things just because you feel like you have to, where right there, if you look at it, we're just that far away from it. So there's a lot of that. I know that maybe doesn't look like that, but as coaches and as players, I think we see it, and that's what kind of drives us to get to be on the plus side of the differences.
As Sean Elliott, as the run game coordinator, how much influence has he had working with you on the running game, and does that influence or his input increase with his new role of taking over the OL?
Yeah, Sean's been a big presence in our run game since he's been here, and learned, we all learn football from each other, and so especially when you get guys that you haven't met before and have different backgrounds, so it's been really cool that way. And I think yes, this week obviously because where his role is and what his role is, and yeah, we're leaning on each other a little bit more.
Chemistry with the offensive line is huge, and you often hear 5 people working as one. So the element of a quarterback, just speaking from your experience, and then obviously now, just how important is that chemistry with a O-line and a quarterback?
Yeah.
And then second, kind of random question, you might not know, but I see Sean Elliott biking around a lot. Is that just him biking from does he bike to work, or is he just biking around the facilities? Do you know the story behind that?
Yeah, you'll probably have to dig a little deeper on that one and ask somebody else on that. But great question on the chemistry. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things we talk about. As offensively, each and every week, how do we help our football team win the game? Number one, secure the football, right? Take care of the football. Let's play keep away, all right, from the other offense. And then the next thing is the communication, and then along with communication comes that chemistry. So it's time spent together, just probably like in any relationship in life, right? Whether or not it's football or not, but 5 guys working together, and ideally, in an ideal world, you have the same 5 guys working together, but as we know, that doesn't happen very often. Our guys our coaches have done a good job in getting the offensive linemen prepared to possibly play different positions, and we've seen that all during the course of the year. You've seen one guy play 3 different positions this year. So, but yeah, the communication, I think, creates that chemistry, and time spent together, whether or not it's on the field, in the game, obviously is the most important with experience, but then in the meeting room too.
What have you seen from Coach Elliott in your time together, and what do you think he'll add to that
Yeah,
O-line room?
I think he's a intelligent coach. He brings a lot of energy, but a lot of toughness, but which is, I think all above that, including his, I say energy and all that and toughness, but he's a very smart coach too. He understands things, and he can kind of simplify things in his own mind, and kind of expresses that to other coaches around him, and then but he's got a plan. He has a plan on what he wants to get, has a vision. So he's an experienced football coach that loves football and loves working with players and helping them make better, and loves winning. So it's a lot of good stuff there. Appreciate y'all.